beginning of the period, you could still be hanged for murder, homosexuality was illegal, you had to be a married woman to get the pill, you had to be a married woman to get a credit card and your husband had to sign. There were so many things that actually were transformed in this period legally. But beyond that, we're really looking at also how people's mindset changed and their openness to other ways of living and their rejection of authority and their independence changed.
Well, it's not a proper term. No, I was already to be the curator.
We are stars. We are going something turning. And maybe it's
The pop stars of this era were absolute gods, and they were leading society. So their impact with their dress and the places they went and the boutiques that they went to and so on, bought things from and wore on album covers, well, that was hugely important on the sort of wider culture. Of course, you'd had that before with mod culture and so on, but you get this era where people are looking to pop stars because they are living this countercultural life. They're engaging with avant-garde arts, with ideas, with drugs, and so on. It seemed to have an effect that lasted not only when you took the drug, but after you'd finished taking the drug. It opened people's minds to other ways of being, other ways of living, connected them or gave them a feeling of connection with other people. And that was something that they brought to their whole sort of way of looking at the world.
You're living in England, it was a very grey place, and of course everybody looked to American films and music as the kind of car culture and houses. But it was that sort of consumer culture that spread into Europe in the 1960s. I mean, particularly obviously the impact of television, but also just kind of consumer goods, the idea that people had money and could start making real decisions about what they wanted. When they got to the moon, everyone was kind of a bit disappointed, and people started looking back and thinking, actually, the real issue is, what are we doing down on this little blue planet floating through space? In those days, there were 3 billion people on it. 50 years later, I think it's about 7.5 billion. How can we live together? they were fighting for all sorts of things, civil rights in America, women's lib here, gay rights and all the rest of it. But the one thing that linked them together and gave them a kind of common cause was just not just the energy of youth, but the anti-Vietnam War and the feeling that we're fighting for something which was morally right. It was the fact that people generally across the Western world decided that freedom meant that it wasn't government telling you what to do, but it was a consensual thing that you agreed with the government. And that's the big divide around the world today.